And the fifth.
You are
then
Yeah.
It seems like
Thank you.
more leaves this year than.
At this point in time, at 9:01, we'll call the NACo NYSAC committee to order. If at this point in time, I could please get a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Thank you, Supervisor Driscoll, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. We do have 2 members here to make a quorum. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that carries. At this point in time, let's open up privilege of the floor and public comment to the large crowd in the room. Hearing none, we'll move on. So I wanted to say thank you very much to Travis Brown. I know he's here with Amazon. And when we were both Tammy and Amanda and I were at NYSAC, we had an opportunity out in Buffalo to meet with Amazon and talk a little bit about how they partner with local businesses. And we appreciate our purchasing agent, Julie Butler, being here so that you can hear a little bit more about his program. And I know we shared some information last meeting with you, but if at this point in time, Travis, I could just ask you to join us via Zoom and give us a little bit overview about your program and see if there's any questions. You know, I just saw him.
I know he was.
Thank you.
Here he is.
Left-hand side, I see his name.
Travis, we can see you're off mute, but we can't see or hear you.
Yeah,
Getting there. Oh. Oh, no.
Not quite yet.
Try again.
I am here. I'll pop on video. I think it's slowing down my audio. So, okay. I just went off mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. How about now?
Yep.
We can hear you, but we can't see you, just
Can
FYI.
you see me? Okay. All right. So yeah, and I may jump off video because it tends to kind of slow things down, with my with the internet connection. So I do want to say hi and thank you that I am a real person and I am here.
Okay. Why don't you jump off video and just do audio because it is cutting in and out. We do see a picture of you, but it's frozen.
But I will. First of all, starting on, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to this and how we can help align with the. Is that any better?
But
Yes.
Of course, this is.
Obviously, we don't use the Amazon cloud services.
Okay. So
Oh boy, that might be tough.
can you hear me?
You're going in and out.
You know what? Why don't I try to
Give him another moment.
come out and come back in?
Sure. Okay, while he's going out and coming back in, should I attempt to maximize the time? While he's working on that, if it's okay, let's jump over to number 4. That's a fairly easy one to get right off the bat. And that's a support for standing committee resolution on public safety. And this was presented at NYSAC.
Are you all able to see my screen?
No, sadly, you're
Let me
still
do this.
breaking up and we can't see your screen.
Can you try to message him, Amanda? Oh, you did, or something.
Okay, so
He's
we'll
just very delayed. Yeah.
This resolution, and again, thank you, Chairman Jarossi, for being here, because I know that this was a resolution that NYSAC had presented to the full membership. It was passed unanimously, and it was one that our probation director, Bob Busey, worked incredibly hard on. As you probably all are aware, he has a very active presence at the state and in assisting the probation association. So I believe you have a copy of that resolution in your packet, and it was resolution number 3, and Director Busey had responded to the email that we had agreed upon to send out last meeting and said that this was a priority and one that he would be interested in seeing our Warren County Board of Supervisors support. I know for those of us that have reviewed the NYSAC materials previously, we've seen this before, but I did want to see if there was a desire to move this forward for the full board to adopt and then send to our representatives in support of Director Busey's efforts and in support of the resolution.
So moved.
Thank you. That is moved by Supervisor Leggett and seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion? Supervisor.
Yeah, I certainly am for that. I would just kind of like to hear if Bob could provide some comments, his opinion on that. Also Larry and Mr. Canali and Mr. Harrison. I would just be kind of interested in their take on that issue. I know what it is, but you know, it would be helpful for me to formulate my opinion. I believe if I had professionals as well as the sheriff too. I think that's important also, that he has the ability to weigh in on that. So thanks.
Would you like me to send an email to them just so then they can reply to you with that feedback?
That's fine. It
Okay.
doesn't have to be War and Peace, just a kind of a Reader's Digest opinion on how they feel about that.
Okay. All right, with that said, all in favor?
Can I just
Aye.
clarify one? The resolution is to go to the Board of Supervisors supporting the proposal made by NYSAC, or sending our own separate individual proposal or recommendation. Do you understand? 'Cause
Yeah, I
just
understand the
wanna
question.
clarify Since we have to.
Yeah, in the past, when we've supported NYSAC or NACo resolutions, we try very hard to leave them untouched. So it's really just adopting exactly what the NYSAC membership had unanimously passed, because many other counties do send in resolutions that are also supporting it. So we're just adopting it as a Board of Supervisors.
Thank you.
Sure.
I know
Supervisor.
we kind of already voted, but I just wanted to clarify that Mr. Busey is behind this. He's supporting it and wants to move forward, because the way I understand it is streamlining a little bit. Helps move things along
Right.
more easily.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Not only, did he champion this at the state level, this is something that he's worked very hard on as well. And so
Yeah.
it seems appropriate to have at least a resolution from Warren County supporting it. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries. Thank you. And we see that Mr. Brown is back with us and we can see his PowerPoint. Mr. Brown, can you hear us?
And just one moment, I actually just tried to call in, so there might be a little bit of a feedback. All right.
Larry, Amanda's been sending us. All
Right, so can you all hear?
Yes. Well. Heard that.
Travis, we lost you again.
Hear me then, okay?
Now you're there.
And you can see my, I did share my screen. Can
Do we have his PowerPoint? Because we could just, no.
you all see that as well? Okay.
You're still going
Make
in and
sure.
out. I don't know if it's better to just call. Hmm.
Or that I have my audio off. Here on Zoom.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Have anything on your agenda for the committee meetings next Tuesday? No, okay.
Should I?
Well, I was gonna say,
You have
possibly we could, what committee is that?
Legislative and rules.
Okay,
not
I mean. Could we possibly see if we could add that to it?
We could reschedule for our next meeting too.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point,
Okay.
maybe just having
not-
Julie
All right, yeah.
touch base with him and see if it's something that. Great,
My main question was basically, is he using a national contract for this presentation? I mean, most of what we would have access to through this, I went through the Omnia Partners contract last night, which is what I assume he would be having us.
08
We're limited to only 4 categories. We already have
8 6.
or state contract, or we're using other national contracts for most of those categories. Not that we couldn't have an account with Amazon,
Mhm.
which we could probably use as just another quote. And if they're low, then we could buy from them. But that was my main question, is what is the basis for us being able to have an account with them? What I was waiting to see.
those are good questions for sure, Julie. Travis, Mr. Brown, are you back with us where we can hear you and address some of these questions? Supervisor Bramer.
I mean, one thing is
Enter
maybe
your
we can
meeting
have a
ID followed
conversation
by pound.
offline, and then we can try again at committee,
Yeah.
next committee.
That I am. I don't know if you can.
No, I don't think it's gonna work, Mr. Brown. You keep going in and out.
Can hear that.
I'm sorry.
He's really delayed too.
Yeah. I think we're probably gonna have to go to Plan B, which, as Supervisor Bramer brought up, perhaps at this point in time, what we could do is connect both our purchasing department and Amazon, just specifically so that, you know, Julie, this came up in the context of knowing that from time to time employees are using their Amazon accounts to order things. They talked about how they have a local Amazon connection where you can really use local businesses and being able to streamline some of those things when you need it fast and you still want to support local and not have a need where employees are going to have to use their own personal account.
Yes. So
Yeah, maybe just put them on mute, sadly. I'm sorry, Mr. Brown, you keep going in and out, so I don't think this is going to work out for today, but we are excited about a possibility here and would love for you to speak with our purchasing department, and then provided based on whatever her recommendation may be, you know, have you come back to the committee where we have Zoom working, or maybe email us the PowerPoint so that we could take a look at it as a committee. That would be incredibly helpful. And then we'll just table if we can just keep it as a pending item.
Yeah, I do see on his presentation that it is through Omnia Partners, which is what I went through last night. I believe they're gonna require a contract for us to sign, which will require action by the committee. I'll go through that with Larry because this is just part of what I went through last night. The contract itself isn't that long, but there's a lot of attachments and advertisements and stuff that go along with it. But I just want to make sure that Larry would be okay with the contents of the contract before we move forward.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, I can call Mr. Brown and
Okay.
discussion.
And Amanda, if you wouldn't mind just requesting his slides and sending them out, that would be great. And our county attorney, is that fine with you?
Sure.
Any other discussion on this? Sadly, even, it is Distance Learning Week Awareness, Week, just so you all know,
Oh.
November 7th to the 11th week, or November, 7th to the 11th is National Online Distance Learning Week. So even sometimes there's hiccups in that distance or the connection. So does that sound good?
Yes,
All
yeah,
right, so we'll just leave that pending.
thank you.
Just moving on to the other resolutions that are before us from standing committees after attending NYSAC. If you would just direct your attention to number 5, which is the support for standing committees on Medicaid and human service resolutions. This is similar once again to the support through public safety. As you recall, we went out to our department heads and asked them if there were any resolutions that they had seen that they wanted our board to support as a result of attending this training. And this is what Commissioner Hanchett got back to us with. And I know next month we have some items from public health to be able to discuss as well that came in to review next month. So at this point in time, if I could get a motion on the floor just to discuss them, that would be great. That is made by Supervisor Driscoll, seconded by
I'll second.
Supervisor Bramer. Let's open this up for discussion.
So this would be a package to just refer all 3
Mhm.
from Commissioner Hanchett.
And Janelle Jones also
Okay.
responded to, pardon me?
Hers are not on this month. We didn't get them until.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, okay. So as far as, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that the departments are certainly going to support this, but they also have jobs to do. So I think balancing, day-to-day operations with finding the time to address these, plan them, research, discuss with board members or committee members, how they go about supporting them, their opinions on particular matters and testimonials and how it directly impacts their operations, because what is happening here in Warren County may be different than what's happening in Washington, or certainly in Albany or Buffalo or a larger area or a smaller area. So I think it's important to begin the process, and I commend the chair for bringing this forward to us. I think we just need to be respectful of the timeliness of this. Let's start discussing it, getting it going, but also recognizing that we're involved in a very busy season. I mean, we're involved in our budget season. Department of Social Services started the HEAP program Tuesday, and that's going to be a nightmare with the situation in our economy, and more people, I think, this year will be applying for HEAP benefits than ever before. And so they have a lot on their plate over there, and I think all the departments do. All the departments are working hard at what they do on a day-to-day basis. So let's don't sweep it under the rug, but let's be respectful of the fact that we've got to nurture and do this in time. Certainly, there's certain issues that we want to get forward in a timely and efficient manner, but I'm all for using our membership in the 2 organizations to at least be out there on the forefront. I think it speaks well to the county when we are at the forefront, and people can say, well, I'm going to use Warren County as an example of how we want to conduct business, or at least that model. So that's my say on it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Supervisor Bramer.
I'll say, having been involved in the process at NYSAC, they do a very detailed job of coming up with these resolutions. And I it's great that we're gonna pass them forward. I'm not sure we're on the breaking edge, but I still think it's timely to get this to the state as they are working on the next year's budget. So I feel comfortable moving them forward today. Yeah.
Thank you. Other discussion? Supervisor Leggett?
It is a lot for departments to look through and review, as said, but if we're comfortable, these have been vetted through time. They don't seem unreasonable, and it looks like along in the same avenues that we would all be gearing for some fiscal responsibility to help us do our job.
I will just note that, again, our hope is by supporting these types of resolutions that we are joining other counties in their voices to say that, there's some significant revenue potential here, and saying to the state, we'd like to see some offsets and those unfunded mandates start to be limited. I don't know how successful we'll be, but these are really important programs and a big cost, both to our county and to the state. So we would join in with many other counties that are making their voices heard on this, and hopefully supporting our department heads and our budgets, by approving them. So without hearing any other discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
I
Opposed? Same, that carries. Thank you. And as mentioned previously, the resolutions for public health, and if any others come in from department heads, would be on next month's agenda for the remaining of the year, which should be helpful as they do start to work on the budget at the state level. It also helps NYSAC in their advocacy efforts, so we appreciate that support. So if I could just go, I know the last meeting we talked about employee retention interviews and having that example from Livingston, which was provided in your packet last month, and Employee Appreciation Day. If I can just put those on hold for 1 second, it looks like we'll have plenty of time to talk about all these items, and go down to the follow-up from the email that I want to give credit to our clerk of the board for taking the time to research and to write and to reach out to our department heads in the interest of trying to be very respectful of the time and the budget season. A lot of information was put into one email to let them know that we would like to support their department goals in any way we can, and of course, best practices. One of the questions that we had surveyed for was to see if anyone who had completed our internal leadership program would be interested in taking the NACo High Performance Leadership Program. And that the information that was given back to me, I think we only have one employee who had expressed interest, unless our acting county administrator is aware of anyone else.
The one I know is from the county administrator's office.
Correct. And it's my understanding that in the county administrator's office, there is money budgeted for that particular online training in the 2022 budget.
I don't believe I don't know how much is the cost for the training. It's $2,500, and I believe that there's $2,500 remaining after the NACo or the NYSAC conference. Can it be transferred from salaries? We could move it, but there's not enough money in the training budget right now. But yeah, there's money in the full-time salaries that we have a.
So I guess my suggestion here would be, should we do a resolution out of here and refer it over to the county administrator's report, or?
Well, I would say once we figure out how much the training is, and just to make sure that they can get in for the next one,
Sure.
then it would just be a matter of bringing it to finance to request a transfer. Then they don't need a referral from this committee.
Okay, great. So it does look like one, and we certainly appreciate the employee from the county administrator's office for taking the time and wanting to complete this accelerated and elevated program of leadership. And would encourage anyone who has already taken our Warren County training to reach out if there was such an interest. We are trying to look at this to utilize funds in the 2022 year. So
The start date is
it will depend on scheduling, just dependent on when the employee is going to, what group, their 12-week category they're going to want to get
12
in.
weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Would the committee open it up or put out feelers to individuals who did not take the county training who might be interested? Because there are a number of people who not been with the county for an extended period of time who may have an interest in the training.
I
They
can,
may be in key
Right.
leadership positions, and I'm not talking about this.
Right. Well, let's open that up for discussion to the committee and see how they feel about it. At our last meeting, we had talked just as a starting point for those that had graduated from our leadership program internally, but there doesn't seem to be a flood of interest coming in. I think we might have thought we'd see 30 or 40 people, several people say, okay, I'm interested out of that pool of 30 or 40, but I don't think that occurred. So how does the committee feel about taking up the county attorney's suggestion? Supervisor Leggett?
I think by taking the county's program first shows an interest already, and it's one of those steps towards. So I was comfortable with that requirement.
Okay, Supervisor Bramer.
I was too, but on the other hand, thinking about their day-to-day jobs and how much training can they take? And if they've already completed our county training, maybe they don't have bandwidth right now to take this NYSAC training too. Or is it NACo? Sorry, NACo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm open to it, but I guess not totally convinced.
I wouldn't be discouraged by the fact that you didn't hit the 30 or 40 threshold. I think it's just going to take time. And as I said before, nurturing, possibly sending out reminders, personally, that first email doesn't always, start my engine. I need to be reminded. I need to find out that colleagues of mine are jumping ahead of me in line. So, that kind of competitive side of me, I want to be part of that too. So again, I would, nurture it through the holiday season, and hopefully, when the new year starts, we'll have a good list of people interested in doing it.
Well, we will have one more meeting before the end of
Yeah.
the year. So certainly, given the fact there isn't floodgates, it
Right.
sounds like everybody's kind of on the fence. Perhaps if there are other interested parties, it could be brought to our attention prior to the next meeting, particularly if it's a funding issue and the money isn't in that budget, that department's budget. But Supervisor Bramer.
One of my concerns too is that if we had a floodgate of people, it's not free. It does
Right.
cost money, whereas our county training is free, and from the people who have taken it, we've gotten really good feedback. So
Right.
flipping back to the other side, but certainly if someone is really interested, they haven't completed the county training, if they still want to come, would they reach out to you? How are we getting those?
Well, I would say to the acting county administrator and to me as chair of the committee, that's fine. If that's acceptable to the committee.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll note for those that have not taken the county leadership program, and particularly to our county attorney's office, having completed that, I will say that it is doable to complete that in a short period of time. And so perhaps between now and the next meeting, that is something that someone may want to start at least. And again, it's doable to finish that within a month, in my opinion. Supervisor Leggett.
Right, I was just going to narrow down. I've started it 3 times, haven't completed it yet because of time restraints. How long does it take to go through all the modules for the leadership?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
It was a good 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did it in 1
All right.
hour increments usually.
For people like me, 12 to 14.
Yeah.
I will say this, it is a good precursor to the leadership program, the program that we're talking about right now through NACo, because it is set up in a similar way, just with that distance learning. And again, I'm really excited to be discussing this during the national awareness for Distance Learning Week. Again, a plug for distance learning. But I know, Julie, you've completed it. Tammy's completed it, Amanda, I believe. And I know I have. Does anyone else in the room that I'm not recognizing and saying congrats to? So we do have a great little Warren County program. So I would encourage that. But okay, so moving on, the NACo Legislative Conference is February 11th to the 14th. I wanted to just talk briefly about that conference. When we created this committee back in 2021, and I believe Supervisor Leggett, you chaired the committee at that time, the NACo NYSAC. I don't recall who did, but it was a special.
This last year, right?
Possible.
Yeah. You had a lot going on. So we created that in the hopes that we would be able to prioritize individuals that would want to attend training or these online opportunities, and also bring back best practices to the board so that we could consider them. And we've seen multiple examples of where this has been effective already in the the Operation Greenlight, that was a directive or an initiative that came from NYSAC and NACo, and this is our second year now in supporting that. And we're excited that this is, I think that just ended. October was October Greenlight. But you know, that's another example. Some other trainings that have been available about recruitment or cyber training, and there's been other initiatives that we've been able to bring back through this process. So I do appreciate the report by Supervisor Bramer at the last board meeting, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I'm glad to see that our training initiative was passed. There was concern about a mission statement and where special committees fell into it. So I did a little bit of research with the help of our county clerk and did find our resolution where Warren County adopted its own mission statement. But committees themselves, special or standing, do not have their own mission statements. Our mission statement was very simple. I'm sure you'll all recall it in 2022. Resolution 344, it just simply said Warren County government works for its Warren County residents. Funding shall be dedicated to protecting and enhancing our residents' quality of life, but providing excellent services in a cost-effective manner. The goals and the initiatives of this committee align directly with our mission statement. And I did take an opportunity to look both at the NACo and the NYSAC mission statements, and both, as you can imagine, work to advance public policies, promote county solutions and innovation, and have that public-private collaboration, which continues to add value-added services to counties and save taxpayer money. So I think some of the goals that we've been able to accomplish here through our special committee has been generating greater awareness about county government, discussing current issues and emerging trends, highlighting best practices, recognizing leaders in the field, and bringing back those training initiatives and proposing implementation of them. And again, we've had a few examples of that already. So I did want to touch on that, and again, thank Supervisor Bramer and share just the research that I had found on all the different committees and the mission statements behind those, and appreciate the support for us bringing back those best practices. At this time, I did want to ask Acting County Administrator Leggett, based on that email, if we had heard, and perhaps this is just something we should wait another month or so for, any best practices from our department heads in terms of submitting them to the state and national recognition portals.
Absolutely. We haven't heard much, have we?
But just in the next month or so, if that's something that, as you're, doing those day-to-day duties, noticing some of those best practices, perhaps we could just start keeping a list and enlist the help of our public information officer to submit those. That would be great. And again, I appreciate that discussion last meeting about that. So the legislative conference that's coming up, I wanted to make sure that I brought it up to this committee. And then I'm sure Amanda will send an email to the entire board, but if there's interest in attending that conference and we're able to utilize any funds in 2022 to register for that, that's always a good thing. And so if there's an interest, it is February 11th to the 14th. And if you could please let the clerk of our board know, it's an excellent opportunity to learn more about legislative initiatives and to meet with other county partners, and it's always nice to be on a standing committee to be able to interact. I know hopefully Supervisor Gerasi with criminal justice, I know they have a full day meeting scheduled already for that. And, many other, I know Craig, you sit on, Supervisor Leggett, you sit on multiple committees as well, I believe with NACo that will meet that weekend. Yeah. And it is a weekend start, they've moved it to a weekend. It's in Washington, DC. Yeah.
As usual. Yes.
Yeah. Supervisor Bramer.
When is a good deadline for us to get back to Amanda? If I leave it open-ended, I'm bound to not do it when I should.
I think it's usually they have like an early bird registration. So I'll have to look at that and see what the deadline is.
Okay.
Registration. I have to double check. Just to make sure, but I think they do have a lower.
Okay.
I think in the past, we all recognize things come up and plans change and we all have competing priorities. But in the past, when we've canceled, we haven't incurred a fee. They've been really good about if we do it soon enough. So just wanting to be able to just maximize every dollar and see if this is an opportunity for any members, that want to become more involved with that. So I wanted to make sure it was right in front of you. And I think that just goes over through Amanda to the chair of the board for an authorization. Is that correct? And with NYSAC, we have a general, we've already adopted a resolution, so anyone wanting to attend NYSAC, again, that just goes through Amanda, and their conference is also in the February, maybe.
I think it's gonna be in March.
Yeah.
I'm just looking online at the NACo registration, and there is an early bird registration fee that's valid until December 10th. So I would say before December 10th.
Okay.
No, after that, it'll be a higher rate.
Thank
This
you,
is gonna be
Amanda.
easy to get to this year.
December 10th.
December is the deadline for the early bird.
Any other discussion on the conference? That's an easy one. Going back up, I don't know how much you all had an opportunity to look at the examples that were provided by Livingston Council or County on the employee retention interviews. But if that was something that we were interested in, I would say, being able to ask our personnel officer or personnel, I don't know why I can't talk this morning, human resources director, to take a look at that and see if it's something that the board would be interested in discussing and looking at. I know that was a month ago, but do you guys recall that example?
Not the detail. Remember, it was part of the slide packet that
Mhm.
was sent through there from Ian Coyle.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, good memory.
Right, and I did flip through the slideshow there, but
I would just be interested in knowing from our HR director if this was something that she would find valuable, and if so, maybe that's something we can jointly work on with a personnel committee. Or send it over for their consideration and to take a look at it. Having seen the presentation and the example that they provided, it certainly seemed worthwhile to take a look at that. And I know NYSAC is also offering a training on retention coming up here this week or next week. Is it next week? Yeah, which is great. It's another free training that, is a benefit from our members.
it's next Wednesday.
So I don't think I need a motion for that, but if the consensus of the committee is to have the HR director look at it and get back and let us know if it's something that would work, and then work with the personnel chair.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sound good? I don't need, that's just simply a send it over.
But look, can we leave it on the agenda?
Yeah. The other item that you were given an example of next month, we just ran out of time last meeting, was the Employee Appreciation Day. Saratoga County provided an example of that, and someone that's been here much longer than I'm sure could give an example of how we used to have different types of employee appreciation events. But if this is something, again, I guess I would need a little help, but I would think that it would probably go to our acting county administrator. I know previously that was done out of the county administrator's office to take a look at that example and maybe do the same thing if that works for you, Supervisor Leggett.
Well, what does it look like? An employee appreciation day. What do we need?
I think from what I understand from the presentation is that there's different formats and different ways that counties have done it. For Saratoga County, they chose to have like an afternoon, a luncheon. They brought in, I think he was talking about different food trucks to say, pretty much have a dedicated time to honor the employees that are there, give them kind of a break. And, I don't know if he did different award recognitions, but I know that he would be more than willing to talk to you about it. He was very proud of that program at NYSAC, and we had a chance to talk briefly after it. But I think it could be anything you wanted it to be, or the board wanted it to be, if they decided to do it. I know we talked several years ago about bringing that back. And I think with just busyness and changeover in administration, we weren't able to do it.
Usually a great thing for the next administrator to work on.
Right. I don't think it's a quick point taken. Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I know that Department of Social Services this past summer had a party over at Gurney Lane. They did that 3 shifts so that they were always covered. Every penny of that was from the the commissioner and assistant commissioner, as well as proceeds from ongoing bake sales that they've had throughout the year. And it was very popular. They had also scheduled a softball tournament, but I think COVID and a few other things prevented them from doing that. But years ago, I attended as the spouse of an employee, a celebration at the Great Escape. That had its pros and cons, as I remember. There were a lot of people who amazingly had extended family members that kind of materialized, and there was as many non-employees as there were, I think, employees at that again. But I think it's worth pursuing and looking at some examples. But I think that it really needs to come not as much from us, but from the different departments and query their employees to see what kind of things that they might like to do. And maybe there could be two different types of options, you know, like you said, a food truck and a kind of a motivational pep rally type of speaker, and then, you know, something more attendance at a hockey game or something like that like Chamber of Commerce does and those types of things. So I also want to make sure that we got to number 2 on the other. I had some thoughts on that too.
Yep, so just on that topic then, I think if it's the consensus of the committee, we would ask our county acting administrator to put that into a nice file for the new administrator once hired.
The Appreciation Day.
Yeah, with those examples, and then they can certainly defer to members of the board or to Craig, obviously, to a survey of the department heads and see what they're thinking. But so that way it's not lost. It might be a great second interview question for a candidate on how they would go about recognizing our employees' hard efforts and what that would look like. So great. Oh, yes, Julie.
Just one thought on that. Actually, when Saratoga County did their employee appreciation day with the food trucks, I got a call from their purchasing agent saying, how would you handle this? Because it's coming out of county funding. So just keep that in mind. If it's going to come out of county funds, we are going to have to follow the policy with whatever we do.
We did hear from some different speakers about whether it be the board that donates towards it or different types of, I mean, look what our sheriff just did with Trunk or Treat, which was a huge donation from the entire community for such an incredible event. I heard it went really well. So yeah. Yeah. And obviously we're under tough budget time. So being creative and innovative here and following some of those other leads might be beneficial. But certainly a great task for a new administrator to take a look at how we continue to value and show our appreciation to our employees. Okay, anything else on that? Great. Okay, Supervisor Driscoll.
In regards to goals of these, excuse me, of these committee meetings, updates by members on NACo, NYSAC committee members, and blah blah blah. Just an idea that I had been thinking about even prior to this agenda was both committee members of individual committees as well as all members of the Board of Supervisors sharing information on both federal and state legislation that has a direct impact on our towns, our county, and our state that impact our people. I know in the past I've been able to send out information primarily about social services related stuff, but also issues like school meal programs to the board because they all have school districts in their jurisdictions. Information on employment requirements for individuals who receive benefits, and I would be interested. I don't keep up as much on law enforcement related type of stuff, but if there's an issue that that comes up, I want to have a conversation with the Glens Falls Police Chief and say, you know, how is that impacting our community? The potential of it being better or possibly worse, I guess. I would be interested. I'm not asking, you know, individuals to do more than they're already doing, but I think it would be helpful if we're aware of something that is going to have a direct impact on our ability to do business as a county. It would be helpful to kind of share that, whether in committee or just kind of ask Mr. Lehman to say FYI. Here's a bit of legislation, as we talked about, that would impact our probation department. You know, here it is.
I think what you bring up, Supervisor Driscoll, is an important point. Certainly in the individual committees that are subject matter experts and topics, those items will come up, but many times we run out of time or,
Right, yeah.
you know, so it's exactly why you're on a committee like this, so that when you do attend those types of trainings or meetings at that national or that state level, you can come back and share it and, you know, raise awareness about not only what you're doing on behalf of Warren County, but also how important that is to our departments and how that legislation might impact us. So we look forward to hearing lots more from you in the future on those issues. I think that's if I'm understanding your request correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other discussion on that item? And hopefully, I think we're going to continue to see some feedback from some department heads, you know, as we head into next month, as they get time, given all of their competing priorities to really digest all the information that was sent out. So at this point in time, is there any other business or comments from committee members?
Well, sorry, thanks. On the note of sending out info, I think you and I are both on the rural caucus and they regularly send out info for
Yeah.
us, that maybe we should be forwarding that on.
That's a good point.
I was just thinking of other, like, are there other NACo committees or NYSAC ones that we're on? Maybe we should be trying to report on at committee.
That's a good point, because it does carry over many different jurisdictions, but particularly the rural counties and the resilient counties. So, you know, to the point where you're seeing those emails and notifications come out, sending them on to the full board would be really helpful. And then letting the county administrator, when they do get it on board, you know, decide what's really relevant to go out to the department heads as well.
There's usually a lot of information in those. The rural ones cover a lot of topics. So
some of it,
I don't always know what's relevant to us.
Yeah.
Supervisor Jones.
Some of it does come in on the daily NYSAC infos that we get, but you got to kind of read down and kind of jump around to find that information. If we could be presented it even maybe on a weekly basis, however we decide to do that.
Really, it's a funnel. There's a lot of information
definitely,
out there and we need to put it through a funnel and see what comes out that is relevant to us.
Yeah.
And who does that?
Yeah.
Again, I think a wonderful second interview question for our county administrator candidates. How they would handle all of that information coming from the national and the state boards. That, great. Is there a privilege of the floor for anyone? Fine. Okay. Well, hearing none, then thank you for getting through everything on the agenda. And I'm sorry about the tech problems, but we look forward to hearing what our purchasing department and our acting county administrator think about the local connections with Amazon and if that works or not. So without anything else, could I have a motion to adjourn? Made by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor Leggett. Discussion. Hearing none, all in